Ivan.
My
Dude,
man.
I'm so sorry to change time and keep you waiting and prolonged.
No, man, it's cool, man.
Awesome.
I'm up anyways, so um, it's all flexible for me. I go to bed around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So
What time
this
do you wake up, man?
around 8.
Okay.
Yeah,
5 hours. 5 hours, man, for me is like my little. It's good enough.
yeah, it's good enough.
5 hours is fine. And then when I think about it, and you think about like there's 24 hours in a day, you're sleeping 8. That's a third. That's a third of your life you're sleeping. It just doesn't sit well with me either. So I'm like, if I can shave off some time, I'm gonna do that so I can be awake and living. And
hmm
What time is it right now?
midnight.
You already asked.
Midnight.
He asked him, yeah, it's midnight. I
Dude.
was like, dude, are you all right?
Ivan, brother. I last time we talked, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a while.
It's been. I mean, it's had to be over a year.
I think so. Yeah.
Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome to see you and talk to you. And
Yeah,
even
likewise, man.
the podcast, it's like, okay, cool. But as soon as you're on here, I forget about the podcast and I just want to know how the hell you've been. Ivan, this has been the most radical 3 months of my life. And it's been beautiful and amazing. And my wife, Allison, and my girls are good and they held down the fort.
Yeah.
But dude, we've been working 100 plus hours a week and just, it's been beautiful. I was like, as soon as we got done, we played music with a few different young people today. That was phenomenal. I'm talking about spiritual, transcendent space. And we were doing that. And we came into the podcast room and I was like, I looked at Zach and I said, man, we're alchemists. Like we are creating vibrational magic and it can feel amazing, but also it's been very surreal to kind of step back. There hasn't been much time for reflection. And so it's been this massive game of like playing catch up with my head and my heart to be like, this is really happening.
Yeah, amazing, man. I've been following, what you guys been doing on Instagram, and I only see bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
So I can imagine what's going on behind the scenes and the whole thing that's going on. But the things you've been doing, like that you show on Instagram, it's already big enough. So it's like
Beautiful.
And it's funny for me, when I scroll the Instagram and every time I see the logo, I'm like my face.
Yeah, that's you, brother.
With a smile, like when I saw you did the logo with the bodybuilder.
Yeah, with the Run Club.
Yeah. Made that,
I was like, yeah.
we made it like a real person, man. It's like a
Yeah.
That symbol, man, has become. I don't know how to describe it, man. It's just such a beautiful piece of art, man. And it has become just like what is identifiable with the name Eternal Strength. And it's awesome.
Definitely.
It's beautiful, man. You're a true artist, dude. So
it's beautiful, man. It's an honor, man, because it came in a spontaneous way, and it's lovely, yeah. But I see that you have hands full of work and that you're not stopping.
No,
Rock and roll energy,
baby.
crushing everything, man.
And Ivan, here's what's crazy. We made the dog tags that he showed you.
Yeah, I showed him the dog tag. Yes.
I sent you one, but it got sent back.
Oh.
Dude, I went up and I used your address and I did everything perfect. And I used, I think it was UPS store, and then had sent it out. And then sure enough, like 3 weeks later, man, it was in my mailbox, returned to sender. So I need to, maybe I put it down.
Because of the quarantine or something, man.
Yeah, I think it was because it was right during that time. And I've sent you, we've sent stuff before. So I know that it was the correct stuff, but I'm going to get your address again because I want to send you a dog tag.
Please, man.
Absolutely, man. And that day was, it was, dude, it was spontaneous. Like I told Zach the story. I had asked you in the least egotistical way I could. I was like, hey, dude, when you think about me and my energy and my spirit, could you just draw some art for me? And you were like, yeah, absolutely, man. And you drew this beautiful piece. But as we were talking about you working on something, I was referring to, and grab it if you need to, man. But I was talking to you about Robert A. Johnson, a Jungian analyst who had written a book called, he's written a few, but this one was called Shadow Work. And it was dealing with the darker side of the psyche. And in it, he talks about the Mandorla. And you were like, you know, like most people go, you must mean mandala. And then you say, no, it's actually like, I guess it's a older term, or maybe, but it comes from different religions, and it's the Vesica Pisces, or the two circles intersecting, the duality, the light and the dark, the day and the night, pleasure, pain, joy, sorrow. And then in Italian, Mandorla means almond, and that space in between where they cross over being the most powerful, transcendent healing space that can ever occur.
No.
And little did I fucking know while we were talking,
Dude.
he was working on art, looking up a Mandorla, and literally hours later posted that on Instagram. And I was like, is that my art piece? And he was like, no. He was like, I'm working on yours. But that's one that I just drew when we were talking about Mandorlas. And I was like, dude, can I please have that? And could I potentially use that as my logo for my psychotherapy practice? And you were beyond kind and amazing and let me use that. So I had a sign and put that logo, and never did get around to making business cards because I didn't need to. And that sign's still out front, and we'll probably get a new one at some point. But it really, and your original artwork, I took to a framer, and it took forever to get back. She takes her time with stuff. She's amazing, Lori the Barefoot Framer. And she said, I really want to take my time with the energy of this piece and get the right mat and glass. And we went and picked it up. And as soon as you walk in Eternal Strength, our building right now,
Oh, man.
it's right spot in front, and it's up and it's on display, and it's your original piece. It's beautiful, man. I can't thank you enough.
I love it. And I can't wait to see it, man.
Awesome.
You gotta come down.
Yeah, it was like, I was so thrilled at that moment because you introduced something new to me, you know, like I didn't hear about this Mandorla ever. And it was very, very powerful. And like you said, this symbolism of dualities, and it's like my center here, I call it the path of the heart, and it's basically the same thing like on the logo, like when you have the cross and connecting upper and the lower and the left and right, and this point of convergence is the heart, is the unity where all dualities come together, and it's even embodied in our body, like our two arms, and they meet in the heart center. And this idea that we are at the same time, like we have this verticality, like the connection of the earth and the heavens, and at the same time this horizontality, which is life here, you know, relationships, and so yeah, it all came together, and I'm so happy you used it, man. That's the first time, like I've been doing artwork for some time now, but this is the first time that somebody used it for a specific purpose.
Awesome, man.
I'm gonna start paying you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. He checks every month. He's like, "Where's my check, boys?" No, I'm just kidding.
And Ivan, man, I love talking to you, man. And it's been too long. I want our connection to stay strong. I want you to be able to come out here. I was hoping that I would love to shift gears and talk about you, if you're okay with me sharing how you and I met, our kind of journey, and then I would love to bring it up to kind of speed on where you're at and what you're doing with your art, with music. We see that you're also on other podcasts. You got your center. What's it called again? The Heart Path?
Yeah, Path of Heart. Yeah.
Path of the Heart, and you sent me, yeah. All right. So can I set it off and kind of give the journey, man?
You guys are roommates somewhere,
Sure.
right?
And I was a snorer, and I snored too much, man. And I'm sorry. I'm eternally sorry for my snoring. But
actually, I have a story about your snoring, which was very important for me. But yeah, go.
Okay.
Interesting.
So, man, I told I don't share this often, but I feel like everything that we've been doing and the work we've been doing has truly opened my heart. And Zach has been a huge part of that. Him coming back, and we joke around. I call him my comfort buddy. He's kind of come back and brought this energy of freedom where before I was a little bit of a recluse on social media. I didn't share much. I felt like a lot of times ego was embedded in it. And so he came back, and I felt an alignment, and I was like, now it's time to share. It's time to share what I've been doing, the work I've been doing. It's really time to open up and be vulnerable and transparent on levels that maybe I haven't on a larger scale. So when Ivan and I met, I was in the PhD program, and I had started it in the fall of 2014, and I'd been in it for about a year and a half, 2 years, taking all these classes: Consciousness and Society, University of West Georgia, transpersonal psychology, psychospiritual work, Buddhist psychology, and I was studying addiction. And I knew that's what I wanted the abundance of my research to be on, was addiction. And what kept showing up in my addiction research, because my past, I've been through pretty hardcore drug addiction, an abusive relationship with marijuana. I got clean around 24. No desire to alter consciousness again or use substances. Been clean for about 13, 14 years. Drank some alcohol, but never had an abusive relationship. Anyways, ayahuasca continually was revealing itself through my readings and through podcast and through study around addiction. And I had known about ayahuasca, the ancient Peruvian tea and brew that had been used in shamanic and healing ceremonies to do certain types of work. But the way I had conceptualized ayahuasca was as a substance, as a drug, as a mind-altering entity. And what happened was I went from this space of internal kind of contemplation where I went, yeah, it's interesting what's being reported on ayahuasca and the use of ayahuasca for a spiritual healing journey, but I probably never engaged with that. And then it continued to reveal itself and kind of show up. And I started to become more curious, and I reached out to Spirit Quest and Don Howard via email, rest in peace. And he gave me the most beautiful response. He said, here is what we do at the center. Here is how we frame the work. It is the path of the heart. We, have been around for quite a while. And here's what we encourage for you to kind of look at. No, you need to come, you don't need to come. Kind of like, hey, you need to meditate and sit with yourself and figure out if this journey is right for you. And then rapid growth occurred where I remember I got to the point and I looked at Allison and I said, I think I have to go do this. I think I have to go to Iquitos, Peru, and I have to go on an 8-day spirit quest, and I have to work with ayahuasca. I think I'm being called to do this. And it was very challenging for me because I wanted to be transparent and vulnerable with my family and be honest with them about the journey I was about to embark on. And I knew that they were going to have a tough time with it because of my past use and addiction, and they would see it potentially as me going to use again. So I went and had a conversation with my mom, with my sister, with my dad, took individual time.
How'd you approach that? You're like, hey, going to Peru.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I said, I love you. I care about you. I want to share something with you. And I want you to know, I don't want to keep this from you.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm being called to do. And Allison was amazing, man. I looked at Allison and she said, if this is what you need to do and this is your heart and soul calling you to do this, you have my full support. So River, my second daughter, was born. And in July of 2016, 6 weeks after she was born, I boarded a plane.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, damn, Allison is a gangster.
Oh,
She's like,
dude.
You what? You're going to do what?
And it was beautiful, man. And I was scared shitless, man. I was really, I was trusting my heart and my gut, and I was being intuitively called. But I also knew, hey, if I get off the plane and this doesn't feel right, I'm not going to move forward. I'm going to go, let my intuition guide me until it's no longer moving me in that direction. And I went and flew into Lima. Was so I had my little money purse that they were saying, you got to be careful, man, and careful in the airport. I tucked it in my pants, and like Don Howard gave instruction on what to do and how to maneuver through the airport.
Oh, really? Wow.
Dude, and I went above and beyond. I went and got a satellite phone. I rented a satellite phone from this guy. So just in case I was out in the middle of the Amazon and couldn't get anything, I could have this
Saved by the Bell? Like,
yes, it was like
oh, really?
Anywhere that you'll get service, you can make it happen. I know. I would. So I was a little bit overwhelmed. I couldn't sleep. Don Howard suggested going across the street in Lima and getting a place where you can kind of get a locker and sleep for a little while. I went, got a locker, laid down on this little bed for like 30 minutes. I was like, fuck this. I can't sleep, man. Got out of my locker, went back to the airport, just kind of stayed and arrived in Lima, and then took the small flight to Iquitos, got off in Iquitos. Don Howard picked us up. And I think you were on that bus ride where we then went down to the boat and took about a 45-minute, hour-long boat ride down the Amazon River.
Oh, whoa, dude.
Out to Spirit West.
That's
and
cool.
Ivan, man, dude, you were put in my life for a reason, brother. Like, I was highly anxious, and Ivan had been there several times, knew the healers, knew the curanderos, and they paired me with him as my roommate. And
that's beautiful, because every time I went there, when I was at the airport, I would play this game with myself, and I would look at people, and I would try to guess which one of the people who's boarding the plane will be the one who's going to Spirit Quest.
Oh, you like that guy.
And of course, I noticed Wes, because you can't miss him. He's such an individual. All tatted up, and I'm looking at, wow, this dude is like, he's really weird. Like, he's going, man. I know it's going. And but I had a completely different first impression of you, like, based on the way I perceived you in the airport, and then when I met you, when I started talking to you, when we ended up as roommates, it turned out to be one of the best experiences ever. The most pleasant experiences. So likewise, man, I'm so happy that we got paired together, because a lot of memories I have from our time there. And one thing I remember is we were like put into this really small space, the Maloka, the room, but what I always remembered and appreciated was we had this natural respect towards each other, and other space, you know. So especially when we were preparing for the ceremonies, and I would do my yoga and you were reading and writing, and we were in complete quiet, and always respectful to each other, and so it was beautiful.
It
Yeah.
was so I have those same memories, man. And I knew we started talking again. My anxiety was very high. And I remember we got in the room together and we started to talk a little bit about music. And we got to hip hop. And I said, "Who's your favorite, like, hip hop artist?" And he said, "Mos Def." And I was just
Hell
like,
yeah, dude.
"Okay, I can breathe. Like, I'm cool." Just the fact that you even knew Mos Def was very grounding for me. And then I do remember it felt very natural to be in the room with you, and that we respected one another's space and that we could be ourselves and there was no pressure, and we knew that it was sacred time where words didn't need to be exchanged, but our presence was there in the room as we were preparing for ceremony in the Maloka. And I remember I didn't want to be too clingy, but I remember I was like, "Hey, man, where do you like?" Because they allow you to pick whether you want to sit in a chair, whether you want to sit on a mat, whether you want to be up against the wall of the Maloka or near the inner circle. And I was just looking to Ivan like, and he was like, "How about you sit by me, man?"
That's awesome.
And I sit in a chair, and I was like, "Oh, awesome, cool,
Very cool.
And it's so
Yeah,
in
because
many
I was
ways,
already there a couple of times, so I knew where the best seats are.
yeah. And dude, in many ways, you were a shamanic healing force for me because Don Robert and Don Eliana were the curanderos and the healers, but you were a massive healer, and I looked to you as just as much of a shamanic presence, and kind of how you respected and brought reverence to the work and treating it as sacred. So like, I don't know, man, just watching your energy in the Mapacho ceremonies and preparation, I could see your wisdom and your clarity and your patience. And that was just something that I wanted to align with and be a part of. And so you're a healer, man. I mean, you're a Q-Andero in my book.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for these kind words. And the things that we went through there, they were like life changing for me, and they pushed me on my path. To start building my practice, and everything stemmed from Spirit Quest. It was like a seed that was planted there, and one of the most important moments for me was the ability for me to work with Don Robert there. And I wanted to share a story with you. I don't know if you know it, or have I told you that the first night when we um, came there, the first night that we were sleeping, okay, and Wes starts snoring.
Yeah.
It's bad. I forgot. It was I brought earplugs for myself.
Yeah.
Wait, you bought earplugs?
Yeah, because I was like, I might have trouble sleeping when I get there.
You might wake yourself up.
Dude, I threw in those earplugs and it probably was like, it's rough. I take after my dad.
Oh boy, I can only imagine.
Yeah, but check it out. So you're snoring, and I wake up, and I'm like, oh fuck, man, what I'm gonna do now? And this is like, and I look at the time, and it was like 4:30 a.m. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? I can't sleep now. I'm gonna take a walk. And I step outside, and the sun was just rising, so it was like early morning. And the thing, I bump into Don Robert in the morning, like everybody's sleeping, there's nobody around except for the main curandero. And he's walking around, and I bump into him, and we have this like super nice exchange and a conversation when we arrange how I tell him that I want to work with him individually, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for your snoring, man.
Dude, that's so, well, I'd like to take
Interesting. That's a nice way to frame it too. You're like, that was a blessing.
I'd like to take complete credit for that.
Yeah.
We actually planned that. I stayed snoring, so you know that's beautiful. That's awesome.
Interesting because you said something like you said something at the beginning of us talking about his snoring was like some kind of, it was a sort of, I don't think you said life changing, but something happened out there because of his snoring. And I was just so cute. I was waiting to get to that part because like, what could that possibly have happened due to Wes's snoring? But that's cool.
Yeah, man.
Cool, man.
That's the story.
I dig it, man. That's cool.
Ivan, and I think you know, with ayahuasca and entheogens, and that's the term I kind of prefer. I don't like to loop it under psychedelic. I like the term entheogens, releasing the divine within, sacred plant medicines used ceremonially. You know, a lot of the youth that we work with are very curious about psychedelic exploration, whether it be with LSD, psilocybin mushrooms, you know, and there's a lot of a resurgence of curiosity around that. And it's a very delicate, nuanced, complex arena, especially in working with youth and their psyche.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just try and give as much psychoeducation as I can around what I've seen, because I have seen an abundant amount of youth abuse and habitually use psychedelics to their detriment, emotionally, psychologically. And then I've also seen profound healing occur from psychedelic use. And again, I think what's so necessary and important is that setting and intention, sacred ceremony that's brought to it. But I'm just curious if you want to speak on any of that, because by no ways and you wrote one of the most profoundly beautiful pieces of writing I've ever read on ayahuasca, that is in your Path of the Sacred Heart small book that you sent me.
Yeah.
And I've shared that quite a bit. And when I initially came back, you know, I shared my experiences with my mother, my father, my sister, Allison, a psychotherapist that I was working with that I trusted deeply. But in there you said, be careful who you share this with. If you were lucky or blessed enough to get even one gift from your experience, hold on to that, because the winds of change are strong, and that seed is only been recently been planted. Yeah. And and in it you say, you know, I can't tell you whether or not you should do ayahuasca. And in fact, if I could be the one to talk you into it or not into it, you probably shouldn't do it at all. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I've seen people cry, and I've seen people heal, and I've seen people laugh, and I've seen people go insane and gain sanity. And I don't know what it will bring, but I do know what Mother Ayahuasca's spirit is, what it can offer, and what is existing in that space. And I have an immense amount of respect for how you speak to it, how you frame it, and your relationship with it. And so I don't even know if I'm asking a specific question other than to just kind of talk about maybe some of your journey with the work.
Definitely. So my relationship to I discovered ayahuasca in 2011, you know, here in my hometown. I've seen a documentary about it on TV, and I just resonated strongly with it. And after a while, I came into contact with some people who were doing ceremonies here in Zagreb, in Croatia, and I just went for it, you know. And from the get-go, I had very, very profound experiences. It's kind of like I resonated with this modality of work completely. which to a certain extent at the beginning somewhat clouded my judgment about it because because of my powerful experiences and my ability to flow naturally in that process. I thought this is something amazing that everybody should do it. You know, so I'm talking about me as a beginner on that path. So I was so thrilled and excited about what I'm experiencing, you know, on a bodily level, on a consciousness level, on an emotional level, that I thought this is incredible. Like if someone doesn't do that, he doesn't know the full extent of what life is, of what life could be. Um, and after my first experiences, I started reading much more about it. I started reading much more about it because something was fishy in these ceremonies that we had in Croatia, you know. And I've noticed that I'm flowing through them, but I also saw other people who were struggling a lot, you know, and didn't get any help during the process. And as I started reading, I realized the set and setting, the proper set of setting is the ceremony, and how much the figure of the shaman, of the curandero, is important, you know, as a person who holds the ceremony, who holds space, who is like holds the center, and moves the energy with the voice, with the song. And it became pretty clear to me that the guy who's doing ceremonies in Croatia is not even a shaman. He's not even a curandero. You know, he's just a guy who um, had some experiences with ayahuasca, which led him to some sort of a delusion that he can do it himself without proper training. And he just started doing it. And I realized that I will never do it again with this guy here, and that I need to go to the source. And I think we were very lucky to come to Spirit Quest Sanctuary, you know, because it is one of the rare centers who had such wealth of knowledge and the old knowledge, you know, and the tradition and the level of care for people. And when I came there in 2012, there were only 7 people present at the ceremony, you know. So it was relatively unknown still to people at that time. And these 7 people in 2012 became 27, 37 people in 2016, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like in 4 years, this boom happened. Mostly because of the podcasts. I feel, yeah, in the States, because there was this surge of podcasts who propagated use of psychedelics and similar stuff. So, like I wanted to say, as my experience grew and as I was learning more, I saw that this is a modality which is helpful. I have to be honest now, for a very, very small percentage of people. Because I feel that in order to gain any kind of benefit from this kind of work, you have to come with some sort of psychophysical stability, let's say, in order to handle it properly, to receive the insight, to be strong enough to receive the insight, and most important, to integrate it afterwards. And I feel that's that integration part is what's lacking in the whole world, you know.
Yeah.
Even in our case, we were at the best center in Peru, but when we came home, you don't have that. You don't have support. You're on your own.
Yeah.
And I've known many people who were in Spirit Quest as well, who just couldn't handle it afterwards. You know, so I became more and more cautious of advocating it, because I had I've written about it. I've sang about it. I have songs about ayahuasca, you know, and people here were listening and they wanted to do it, and some of them did, and they I had conversations with people. One guy recently, like 2 months ago, one guy from my neighborhood, he told me, I went to a ceremony and I'm just not the same afterwards. I can't connect with myself no more. Like something went wrong. Um, so I started seeing it as only like for a small. It's something that became very popular and very widespread. But in the long term, um, I wouldn't advocate it, especially for young kids, you know,
Yeah.
because if you choose that road, if you want to use psychedelics as a spiritual path, um, and theogens, then it's something else. Then you're moving into the domain of shamanism, and it's not something that everybody can do. You know, it's for a small amount of people. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. And Ivan, you said, I mean, I remember my first ceremony. It was very interesting to watch people and them talk at breakfast about their experiences and what they brought, the expectations and what they anticipated occurring, and being either frustrated that they didn't get what they expected or didn't this. And I remember I was opening my heart as much as I could and just kind of sitting with what was occurring and allowing to happen. And I went and spoke with Don Howard, and it was beautiful. And I remember he said, you do whatever you can do to move out of here and into here.
Yeah.
And then I remember, you speak about the songs or the Icaros and the shikapas, which is the bundle of leaves that they utilize to kind of lead ceremony and hit the shikapas and sing the Icaros. And I feel 100% confident in saying that if Don Robert and Don Eliana and Don Howard were not in that Maloka leading ceremony, using those shikapas, singing those Icaros, and allowing a sacred space for me to enter into the spirit realm and the spirit world, that I would have had a drastically different experience. But it was safe. They were light healers. They have nothing but beauty and pure intention in offering healing. So it's, now I don't even, and I think that I could, and I don't want to speak for them, but I imagine that many shamans, which is a Western term that I don't even really like using, but curanderos, healers of different lineages and cultural spaces, I imagine that they look at Westerners as quite silly, because they know, they know, look, man, they're like, hey, that connection with the spirit world and the spirit realm is available to you. It's around you all the time. And you can attune to it through trance, through drum work, through holotropic breath work, through meditation, through prayer. And Westerners will start to think that the only way I can have those spiritually transcendent experiences is with a psychedelic or an entheogen. And I think for them, they view it as one component of a much larger, integral, holistic, long-term developmental psycho-spiritual relationship and attunement to that spirit world.
Yeah. I think Westerners have a fixation on it where we want we want to go straight there without doing any of the work at all. And I think like I did an abundance of inner work, and I thought about it, but it never, I was like, I stayed far away from it. And then it presented itself to me. Now, not ayahuasca, but psilocybin and LSD. And I tried psilocybin, but I made sure the setting and intention was right. But without doing an abundance of that work and continuing that, and if it comes into your life like it did for you, like it kind of called to you, and it's appropriate. But I agree, man. A lot of the Westerners, or a lot of us, have a tendency to just go straight, beeline straight for that, and then it turns out just to be awful.
Yeah, or to want to become addicted to the mystical experience,
right?
And to not look at the holistic integration and that type of work. And that's the thing, man. I met people throughout my life that I've met a ton of people who have had all kinds of psychedelic experimentation and have done no integration work at all. And then I met people who haven't touched one psychedelic that are psycho-spiritually advanced and have a beautiful relationship with the spirit realm and the spirit world.
Yeah.
So it's one tool, like you said, that really comes down to, we got to look at the individual, and that individual better be very well grounded in their emotional and psychological stability, in their community, in having a place of integration and doing deeper work, and have a continuum of care before they ever enter into that realm without a massive amount of respect and reverence, because it can be highly, highly damaging and create long-term negative impacts on psychology and development.
Exactly. And my view on it is, if a person doesn't have some kind of a practice of everyday introspection, or like spiritual hygiene,
Like that term.
no ceremony can help him in any way. It can only make him even more confused.
Yeah.
Because this universe and the levels of consciousness are so complex that we cannot even begin to grasp them. We can only see glimpses of it, and even the things we see in the ceremony, if we have that ability to see the other realms, it's only a small part, and that doesn't that even separates us from everyday life. In a way, if you don't get it, because we do those things, we venture into the unknown, but in order to come back to live this life, and the knowledge that we receive in the ceremonies, if we don't use them, if we don't use it, it becomes poison. And that's what people, I see many people, especially here in Croatia, all around the world, they go to the ceremonies, they have some kind of an experience, they go back to their everyday life, they don't have any kind of practice. After some time, the magic of the ceremony wears off. They're back where they started, even worse, because they had some insights, but they didn't apply them. And so the same dissatisfaction appears after some time. The same problems, the same vibrations that they carry inside of them are still with them. They didn't address them at all. And then what they do, I have to go back. I have to go back to reconnect. And then it becomes this magic circle. And especially here all around the world, I see this subculture emerging of people going from one ceremony to the other, and they form circles, and their language is full of medicina this, medicina that. It's like a subculture, and they have this illusion of that they're working on themselves. But they are in constant avoidance of everyday life.
Oh.
And the people who are guiding all that, they have their own motives. Some of them are good, some of them are like strictly money. But it's in their interest to keep it rolling, like more ceremonies, more people. And really you have a whole subculture of this broken people who are very, they don't have foundations, because they haven't built the foundations. And they use the ceremony as a form of an escape, and they're telling themselves that they're working on themselves, but it's really a closed loop, with no real flowering of consciousness. And I had to look at myself, because at the end of the last year, I fell into this deep depression, and anxiety, a period of my life. And I just came to the conclusion that no ceremony can help me at this point, because what I need is complete. The only thing that I need is like to be completely honest with myself, and just to completely dismember myself, to fall apart completely, so that I can put myself back together, but with nothing that's outside of me can help me.
Yeah.
No potion, no substance, no ceremony. Like if I don't go just strictly to myself, so the practice is me and my mirror,
Yeah.
And because I've tried, you tried with the ceremonies, you do it, and you make progress. Of course, it takes you to the next crossing. You learn some stuff, you release some stuff, but it's something that you eventually have to leave behind, because there's this danger of using it as a crutch forever. And for me, it was important because I embedded it in my identity. It became a part of who I am. But actually, when I let it go, it was very liberating. It was very liberating, just knowing that I don't have to go. I don't have to travel to Peru, to heal myself. I don't have to. I have the power. Like that was like completely taking one's power, and when the power is in the ceremony or in the plant, you don't have the power. The power is still outside you. And many people are like, they didn't expect that, for me to say, because I was such a strong advocate of it. And I respect it to the fullest, the path and what I received from it. And I received many things that majority of people didn't get on that path. I really went in deep. But it's something I had to leave behind, in order for me to grow. Because that can only take you to a certain point. And then the next step is leave even that behind and become more strong and more powerful. So for the people are intrigued, and like we said, us Westerners, we like experiences. We are collectors of experiences, and we have this mentality of quick fix. I want this, I will buy this, it will solve something, but it doesn't work like that. And I heard many times even this sentence that ayahuasca and entheogens are like a quick way to something, but they're really not.
Yeah.
It's a long and arduous and perilous road.
Yeah.
And I always remember you, Wes, because when you, if you remember, you received a message at the ceremony. It was, I don't think, your third ceremony or something,
Yeah.
second or third,
It was
that you don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was such a beautiful insight for me, because I was so happy for you, because that's the beauty of it. When you get that, that's the final insight. You don't need to do this, and
Yeah.
that's the main message of ayahuasca. Like when people talk how ayahuasca wants to spread around the world, that's their delusion.
Yeah.
You know, they're delusional at that time, because it, as well as entheogens can remove the ego, they can also inflate it. And Don Howard was talking about that a lot. So when you hear somebody saying, "Oh, ayahuasca wants to spread around the world," that's nonsense.
Yeah.
The message of ayahuasca, the true message, if you got it, it's you don't need me. You need to go home, you know, and love your family.
Dude.
That's the message. That's the ultimate message of ayahuasca. And when you get that, you like, that's game over.
Yeah.
And you're blessed, because that means you came to a certain point where everything connected and you feel okay with yourself. Okay, I'm okay here and now, and I don't need to search anymore.
Yeah.
And while there's something left unresolved inside of us, then we need to go on and search for some more. And go to another ceremony, because we still didn't get it. We still haven't awakened that we are that there's nothing to search, really.
Yeah. Ivan, man, talking to you, your words are so beautiful and your memory is spot on. There's something, man, that I wrote as I was writing for my dissertation, that I said, it's almost like this journey that you take, and you're looking for this necklace, and you're looking for this piece, like this precious piece of jewelry that you had since you were a young child, that you held with you, and it was always meant so much, and you held on to it, and you carried it with you everywhere you went, and then you lost it. You don't know where you lost it, and so you search the world for it, and you go travel, and you fly, and you go by train, plane, boat, everywhere, only to come home, lay back down in your bed, and right there in your nightstand, it was there all along. You didn't have to travel anywhere. It was always there, and it was always with you. And that's what I got, man. That third ceremony was incredibly powerful. I was in communion with what I would call the Godhead, the divine source, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, Krishna consciousness, God. And I said, do I ever need to come back here? Do I ever need to work with any more plant medicines, any sacred medicine? And it said very, very clearly in a heart punch, you have everything you need within you. Go home, be with love. You don't need anything. You're good. More medicine will not make you well. It will make you sicker. More medicine will not make you well. It will make you sicker. And I went to you, and I went to Don Howard, and he said, you got the message, brother. You're good. Go home. And I was like,
what a relief, man.
And Ivan, and then I went, like, go home right now.
Yeah.
Like, leave before everybody else. Like, get on the plane. And he said, no. He said, because then I also asked the, God, or divine source. I said, well, what about, there's still one more ceremony. And it was a combination of talking to Don Howard and that, Don Howard said, I think you need to come be with us in the Maloka. Just don't drink. Don't drink ayahuasca on the fourth ceremony. Come sit, come meditate, come be in the space. Just don't drink. And I did just that. didn't drink, and had just as profound and powerful of a
Exactly.
imminent experience that was beautiful. So it was life changing, and I am humbled and grateful that you were there every step with me. And
Yeah, I remember that exactly, and I was very happy for you that you got that um, that message. And I remember when you were sitting next to me, and you didn't drink that night, and I was still in my process. And then at one point, my process ended, and I got the message. Then it's over for this cycle, and I remember your support next to me. Yeah, those are beautiful moments, man. And it's like it shows how it's all about that. It's about that communication, and once you get it, you don't need a bridge to it. You have it in your everyday life, and then you start fortifying it.
yeah,
And once it becomes more and more embodied, and it becomes more and more palpable and present in your everyday life, and that's consciousness, that's presence. And then you just live it, and there is no more need um, to search for it, because you either have it or you don't have it. And when you don't have it, you search for it. And
yeah,
once you have it, you're never going to let it go because it's so precious.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, many people call me, you know, um, after they listen to my music or read the text. And what I've noticed is they are looking, they always look for some sort of approval.
Mm.
Like they want me to tell them it's okay for them to do it because they have a lot of doubts and they're confused in general, you know, um, and they want some kind of a change. And then they like I can hear them in their voice. They want me to say, yeah, yo, that's great, yo, go for it. You're gonna have a blast, and that's gonna like solve your problems. And I tell them completely the opposite. And then they're like, what? Like, I didn't expect that. I'm like, yeah, but you need to work on yourself every day. And I wouldn't really advise it because it can be very traumatic and dangerous. And it depends. I tell them the fact.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they're like, oh, I don't really like what you're saying to me right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Work on
expect
myself
you.
every day. What?
Yeah.
You must be out your goddamn mind.
Yeah. 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 Let me say just one more thing. I think it's important. It's coming to me now. I think that we, at the moment, with this global changes that's occurring, and I feel us as a human species are evolving to a point that we no longer need the old technologies of consciousness. Um, they had their place in the history. Um, there are beautiful modalities which were always used um, either for pure good or um, for evil. Everything can be used and misused,
Absolutely.
and they served their role, and they opened the portals that they need. And us as humans are evolving, that we are more and more open to that realities that we needed ceremonies before. Um, And I feel we are slowly, they are part, all of them are part of the old systems, which are slowly dying out. And
Yeah.
before that was India, with yoga and gurus and mantras. And then recently it shifted to South America and shamanism, near shamanism ceremonies. Um, people are kind of like reliving the past, and we no longer need it. Like we are opening up on numerous levels, and I don't think it will be necessary, and the experiences will show in the next period, that more and more people will stray away from it, um, because everything has its curve, and it was something very fresh and pure, and then you had the commercial side of it, and then I think we are past the peak, and now it's only downfall. From here for such modalities, and the consciousness will emerge in new ways, which um, doesn't need any substance.
Ivan, beautifully said. And I think that speaks to what we're trying to form here at Eternal Strength and what we're trying to do, because we do believe in connection and community and these ceremonies, but they are new ceremonies. They are ceremonies of human and heart connection in ways that don't involve past ritualistic use of sacred plant medicine, but involve a new progressive connection of youth and heart and vulnerability and transparency and humor and laughter and love and tears, and still having those sacred spaces, but doing it in a way that excels the consciousness even more. Yeah, absolutely, brother. I love talking to you, man. I love talking to you, dude.
Yeah, it's good times, man. And
Yeah.
what you said earlier is like, you said everything that was going on is, and like that new consciousness. And I think that's what's really ultimately happening in the world, is that we're shedding our old ways, like you were saying, and it's messy. And I don't think anybody knows what that really looks like, but I think it is messy and it is a lot of chaos, but I think we're shedding that old skin of who we used to be, and the collective consciousness is raising, and it's interesting to see. But if you really take a bird's eye view of the entire situation and what the world's going through, it's like, it's a lot of unity, man. It's a lot of coming together and starting new ways of things. And I think it's beautiful, although chaotic and messy. And I think it's a necessary thing that has to happen. It's almost a beautiful, it's weird. It's interesting to even name it as beautiful, but it is, overall, it is a beautiful thing that is happening. And unfortunately, some events did have to occur for us to go through this change. But I think that's what's happening, man. We're shedding our old ways and starting
skin,
and it's going to come out. It's going to form this beautiful, unified, collective consciousness, man. And we're all, like we spoke about, certain vibrational level that people hold and they send out into the universe, and that is raising right now. And this is just what it looks like, just a bunch of mess.
Yeah. But I feel it's still a process that's going to last a little bit longer in our human
Right.
time span. It's like a process which occurs over centuries. I feel, even though everything is accelerating, and right here where we at, I think it's very important to speak about these things in an open way, because to a point, the confusion is very, very strong. You either have complete materialists who are in some way cut off from any kind of spirituality still, even now in 2020, which is like
it's a little bit mind-blowing. Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you have all this spiritual scene, where confusion reigns, and I've seen that a person who has pain inside or has some sort of an illness or wants some sort of a change in his or her wish to change, he or she is ready to do anything. And a lot of things are being sold right now, and everything is advocated as a solution, as a cure, as a pathway to happiness. And like when I look at myself, I consider myself to have some sort of a sane judgment, and but even I went and drank ayahuasca with a complete like madman, because I wanted the experience, I wanted the change, and I did it. I jumped into it. So people in their pain and confusion are willing to accept anything. And I think these conversations are very important for starters to explain to people that everything is okay, that you don't need to that there are other ways that you don't need to do such drastic energetic operations on yourself in an attempt to change your condition, because that more gentleness is needed, and to slow down and to really not buy into anything that's being sold right now in the spiritual market, and to find some kind of a middle path now, where it's not like Loon is any spirituality or some sort of a cult, or this manifestation thing that's being presented like you can manifest everything. Yeah, to a certain extent, yes, but do you want everything? So be careful what you want.
Sadhguru said that. He's like, if everything that you were wishing for showed up right now, what would you do with that? You'd be screwed, man. But anyways,
yeah. And Ivan, you said it, like, I think the truest healers will tell you, you don't need a healer. You are your healer.
Yeah.
You have that.
Like that.
You cultivate that. You work on that. And then, did you ever see, Ivan, the movie I Heart Huckabees?
That's very. I don't think so.
It was Dustin Hoffman,
Jason Schwartzman, Mark Wahlberg.
About existentialism, nihilism, this kind of bad. But there's a scene where he describes everything as a blanket, man. I'm looking for a blanket.
Hey, you can do my jacket.
Yeah, let me see your jacket.
Yeah.
He does, dude. He does this beautiful thing at the beginning. So he's an existential detective, and he gets hired, and he's explaining to Jason Schwartzman the universe, and he says, you got to think of the universe as a blanket. And he said, and over here is the Eiffel Tower, and over here is a hamburger, and over here is death, and over here is an orgasm, and over here is you, who's 38 yeyears old, glasses, couple face tattoos, beret, tank top.
Beret.
And over here's me, not a beret. And over here's the podcast room, and over here's Ivan, and the whole idea is that it's all woven together in this fabric, and it's all within the blanket. And even though things may seem separate, they're not separate. They're all part of the blanket reality. And then Jason Schwartzman says, okay. Yeah. I get it. And he goes, but why do I need to know the blanket thing? And then Dustin Hoffman says so well, because once you get the blanket thing, and I always fuck it up.
I don't remember.
Come on, man.
I don't. I totally blanked.
He says, because once you get the blanket thing, you will recognize that all you've ever wanted and yearned for, you already have and are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the illusion of separateness
Yes.
that we are born into this world where we have this illusion to be a separate entity, and once the reality starts revealing itself, then we realize that we're not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
are connected and we are woven together.
Everything,
Yeah.
man. Everything is.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. That's a process of playing this game, right?
Sure, that is
Yeah.
a keyword process, man. It's
Of
a
discovering, yeah, it's a process,
never-ending
and
process.
nobody can tell us that. I mean, we can hear that information uh, mentally, but if we don't experience it on an embodied level, we don't really know. It doesn't mean anything to us. Like,
Yeah.
I can hear this, okay, we are all one, we are connected, but I don't feel like it. I feel separate. So until uh, that's something we can realize only on an experiential um, level, and the process is very painful.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, to come to that,
Mhm.
and that's why many people don't even try to get it because it's painful, and somehow people think that working on oneself, that life becomes better or more happy, or but not really. You just have a clearer understanding of,
You're like, oh
of the
shit.
dualities and the amount of pain that we need to go through, to liberate ourselves from all the baggage and past traumas, and some say even past lives. And it's hard work, but it's worth it. It's
Yeah,
worth it
absolutely.
because that's life. Um, Before that, you live life, but it's not really life. It's like some bland copy of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sleepwalking,
Ivan,
Yeah.
beautifully said.
the living dead,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
living dead.
Dude,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The glass.
and so listen, man, I feel like Ivan, I, dude, I could talk to you forever, but I'm also exhausted.
Yeah.
It's, what is it, 1 a.m. now for you?
Yep.
Okay. So here, man, maybe I feel like I know we're going to continue to be a part of one another's lives and to work together in whatever capacity the universe opens up for us. And so man, I want to put your Instagram out to everybody. The music that you make is incredible and amazing. And I wish that there was translations of all of it, because a lot of it is in another language when you rhyme, and I don't have all the translations, but I know I don't even need to know, brother. I know the message in it is fucking fire and on point, and you're spitting truth, even if I can't understand a word of it. I know what you're speaking about. And so I just, I love you, man. I love you, and I appreciate your
Yeah.
art and your
Love you
beauty.
too.
And
And thank you for having me, man. And
dude,
Being on,
keep
man.
doing what you're doing. And I'm open for any kind of a collaboration or work with you in the future. And I can't wait to come to the States again.
yes,
Oh man, that'd be cool.
I was only in New York, but I gotta come see you guys, man.
please,
I'm
you
an
let us
old
know.
Dungeon family outcast. Goody
Yeah,
Oh hell yeah,
man.
dude.
man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That will be a special treat for me,
absolutely. And Ivan, man, yeah, you let us know, and we will roll out the red carpet.
Absolutely.
Serious,
Yeah,
man. I am serious. You can come stay
Yeah,
with my wife and kids, and we got a spot for you. You can come see the center, and then we would be honored if you'd come speak, lead some groups, and we could have you kind of
Hell yeah.
whatever your heart kind of let you needed to lead, whether it was like walking through some particular meditations or yoga, just anything, man. I think you would bring a beautiful energy, and I would be honored. So, dude,
Thank you,
nothing but
brother.
awesome stuff.
Exactly.
the journey continues.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man, it was cool talking to you. Nice to virtually meet you.
Yeah.
So I'll be in touch. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Later, brother. Thank you.
Želio živjet, po rođenju su mi zavezali zglobove i ubrizgali mi u tijelo koktele za robove, na čisto dijete.